Pops, just the other day, we dropped a video talking about the looming repo crisis, a huge increase in loans, auto loans that are facing delinquency status. I wanted to take some time today. Can you explain what happens to repo cars? And really, let's look through the lens of if I'm in the market to buy a used car, should I be considering repo cars? When do we think these cars will make it to market? Things along those lines. So help, peel the curtain back here.
So what happens is once the people get 60 to 90 days delinquent and they receive a notice from the bank that, hey, either you get caught up to date or we're going to come repossess the car. And the people don't get caught up to date, so the bank repossesses the car. If you have an inordinate number of those repossessions happening at the same time, which is what we're starting to see, banks don't want to flood the market with those vehicles all at one time when taking them to auction because, well, it's lowering the value of their collateral. So oftentimes, banks will repossess the vehicles and they will put them in storage facilities and have them sit for a little bit of time so they can trickle them out to the auctions so they don't all hit the auctions at one time. The bank will clean up the car. They'll make some investments into getting the car detailed. They'll send it to the sale. They'll pay the fees and everything else. And then dealers will bid on those cars. And ultimately, they will make their way back to the retail market.
Just want to jump in. You say send it to the sale. Let's get super granular here. You're talking about auto auctions that dealers have access to, Mannheim, Odessa,
Yes.
things like that, or somewhere else?
Those type of auctions. And I guess, I don't know this for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the really large banks and large lenders have a repossession division that hosts perhaps maybe their own auctions, an in-house auction. But those auctions would be for dealers only, not for consumers. So when we talk about sending the car to the sale or sending the car to the auction, these are dealer-only auctions. They are not open to the public, and these dealers get to bid on the cars. And the last hand up, the one who paid the most, is the one who gets to buy that car.
Now, as a consumer thinking about buying a repoed vehicle, how would you know you're getting your hands on a car that was repossessed? As far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, AutoCheck and Carfax both show you if the title had been repossessed. So you will have access to that information there. Now,
Yes.
Dad, from your experience, should you be nervous or concerned about getting a car that was previously repoed? Or is it the same advice we've always given? Get a pre-purchase inspection, negotiate the out-the-door price, walk away a happy camper. What's your take on that?
Always get a pre-purchase inspection, and also realize that if the person couldn't afford to make the car payments, they couldn't afford to do the maintenance. So it depends how long they owned the vehicle before it was repossessed as to whether or not they missed any maintenances that were due. If somebody entered into a loan and say within the first 6 to 9 months fell so far behind on their payments that the vehicle was repossessed, the miles that they put on the car would be somewhat limited, and the actuality that it would have needed maintenance is somewhat diminished. If the person was in a 72-month loan and they've had it for 42 of those 72 months, well, then you'd have to begin to question, has the customer taken care of the items that needed to be taken care of, because they had to make a choice between making a car payment or servicing the vehicle. And obviously at a certain point, they had to say, well, I can't afford to make the car payment. I'm sure as hell not going to take care of the service on the vehicle. So you have to be a little bit wary when you're looking at vehicles that have been repossessed. But a good pre-purchase inspection could give you peace of mind when you're looking at one of these vehicles.
Yeah, and it's a good moment to let everyone know, and I got lights on me right now. One of the ways, we keep the lights on, Pops, is by selling extended warranties. We actually pay for pre-purchase inspections if you buy an extended warranty from YAA. And right now we've got, we've marked them up $500. We make $500 when someone buys one. We're currently running a promotion where we make $350. So keep that in mind. Get a pre-purchase inspection done. If you get a pre-purchase inspection done, it costs $150. Our margin's down to $200. So you can start to do the math. Pops, let's bring it back just for a second here. When will these repo cars make it to the auctions and ultimately make it to dealers' lots. We're seeing loan delinquency rates. We just did the other video on this, 30-day plus delinquent loans, well over 4.5% nationwide. Should we be thinking about repo cars getting on dealer lots next month, or in 3 months, in 6 months? What's your best guess?
Probably 60 to 90 days. If there is a surge in repossessions, there's only so long that the banks can effectively afford to sit on those vehicles before they send them to the auctions so that they can dispose of them. Because the longer they sit, the greater likelihood of lot rot, which will ultimately end up reducing the value of the vehicle even further. So I would think that if a bank repossessed a vehicle, they're not going to sit on it any longer than 30, perhaps 60 days before it ultimately makes its way to the auction. So if the surge in repossessions is happening now, I would think within the next 30, 60, 90 days, we will see an influx in pre-owned vehicles available at the auctions, which will ultimately make it to the retail lots, which should indicate that we would have greater used car availability, say 60 to 90 days from now.
All right, and this is another plug, but this time for Deal School. If you have not watched Deal School and you are thinking about buying one of these used cars later on this year, please, 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 please watch Deal School. It's 100% free, and it'll walk you through negotiating the out-the-door price, looking for how long a vehicle's been on a dealer's lot, making sure you come into the dealership with a pre-approval for your financing, all that fun stuff, the reminder to do a pre-purchase inspection. So please, if you are going to make a move on a used car, watch Deal School, use Deal School, and use the resources we have to make sure that you get the best out-the-door price. All right, Pops, thank you for explaining repo cars, what's going on in the market. I think between both of these videos, you can start to paint the picture of what's going on and when, as a consumer, if I'm in the market to buy, when I should be taking action. So thank you for that.
Exactly. Thank you, Hanson, for allowing me to explain all that to the folks out there.